This is being reported from CNN. New Mexico jury convicts former officer in fatal shooting of black man at gas station. So, former police officer Brad Lunsford has been convicted. He did not walk away scot-free. A former officer was found guilty Wednesday of voluntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of a black man during a 2022 confrontation at a New Mexico gas station. Las Cruces police officer Brad Lunsford's verdict in a jury trial is the latest outcome in the cases that prosecutors have linked to systemic brutality against black people by members of law enforcement nearly 5 years after the May 2020 killing of George Floyd by a white police officer in Minneapolis. Lunsford, who is white, has pleaded not guilty. His attorney, Jose Coronado, said he will ask the judge to review the verdict for its legal sufficiency. You shot a man in cold blood, and now you want to make sure this man walks free. Some lawyers have no shame. I mean, technically speaking, it's his job. But when you watch that footage and you still say that don't mean I gotta respect you more. That don't mean I gotta respect you more. Quote, while I respect the jury's verdict, I am extremely disappointed by it. I am extremely disappointed in it. I don't believe the state met its burden, end quote. He said in an email to the Associated Press. Prosecutor said he shot Presley Eze at point-blank range in a scuffle after police responded to a 911 call from a gas station attendant who reported that Eze stole beer. You shot a man over beer? Who cares? Even if he did it, who cares? But even then, that's only an accusation. You don't shoot someone over beer. Eze allegedly placed his hand on the officer's stun gun before being shot. Attorney General Raul Torres said the use of deadly force was not reasonable, noting that Lunsford immediately drew his service weapon and shot Eze in the back of the head. Wow. 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 Quote, today's verdict reaffirms a fundamental principle. No one is above the law, not even those sworn to uphold it. Officer Lunsford's actions were not just a tragic lapse in judgment. They were an egregious abuse of power that cost Presley Eze his life, end quote. Torres said in a statement after the verdict was announced. The charge of voluntary manslaughter with a firearm enhancement carries a possible sentence of up to 9 years in prison. Evidence at the trial included police body camera video of the confrontation in which police pulled Eze from the vehicle and the struggle ensued. Philip Stinson, a professor of criminal justice at Bowling Green State University in Ohio, said most fatal shootings by on-duty officers are determined to be legally justified under precedent stemming from two 1980s era U.S. Supreme Court rulings. Quote, it is incredibly difficult for a prosecutor to obtain a conviction in a jury trial in one of these cases, and that's because jurors are very reluctant to second-guess the split-second, often life-or-death decisions of an on-duty police officer in a potentially violent street encounter, end quote. Stinson said, quote, anything can happen, but it's only the most egregious cases, end quote. Wow. Records compiled by Stinson University colleagues and students through the Police Integrity Research Group showed that 205 non-federal law enforcement officers have been arrested on criminal charges of homicide or manslaughter over the past 20 years, resulting in just 66 convictions and 27 convictions of them for manslaughter or homicide. Quote, if you do get a conviction, it's often for the lesser offense, end quote, Stinson said. More than 900 fatal shootings by on-duty state and local federal officers typically take place each year in the U.S., he said. In pursuing a criminal charge against Lunsford, Torres described the killing of Eze as a tragedy and yet another example of poor police tactics resulting in the unjustifiable use of force to subdue an individual resisting arrest for the commission of a minor crime. Wow. So this race soldier got his time, man. He's about to get his time. It's only gonna be up to 9 years, so don't get too excited. But we do have a conviction, and that's a little bit different than what we're kind of like used to, right? But up to 9 years, he shot this man in the back of the head, and that's it.